I'm going to be making a addition to the pet family, and yeah, I'm gonna go check out the fish in a bit. Yeah, they have already ate twice today, so let me show you guys them. And I decided to pass by the fish store and see if I get something. So here is the cutie pies that I ended up bringing home. They're so cute. I'm in love with them already. So I added the fish in their new homes, and I started seeing them swimming sideways and upside down almost. They apparently have swim bladder disorder. The good thing is that there is a treatment for it. So I'm going to stop feeding for 2 days, and then I'm going to be feeding peas instead. And then I'm going to see if there's any improvement at all, and hopefully there is. And I will update you guys tomorrow on Instagram or Facebook on these guys' swim bladder. Hey everybody, I'm back with a new video. Today I'm going to be telling you guys how it has been so far with my goldfish, and yeah. So the last time that you guys heard of my goldfish was when I brought the 2 pinkies home. Wow, that was a long time ago. I have a lot to catch you guys up on. Okay, so I brought the 2 pinkies home on July 2nd, and that is when I discovered the swim bladder that they had, and that's when I told you guys that I would stop feeding and try some peas Oh, do you want to be in the video? Is there something you want to say? Go on. You want the spotlight. He's taking my spotlight. You're not taking it. You want to share it with me. You want to share the spotlight. Right, baby boy. You want to share. You are so fat. Quick story about Poppy here. So he doesn't have his manly parts down there. He's been eating the same, but for some reason he just got really obese. I wonder, has that happened to you guys who got your doggy's manliness cut off? Because I don't know. Okay, so on June 7th, that was the next day after I brought the pinkies home. The plan was to not feed them at all the next day, but they were just like starving. So I ended up feeding them some canned peas at night. I just rinsed them off really good, and then I deshelled them and I microwaved them for a few seconds, just enough for them to soften, but they actually dried out. So I ended up adding a little bit of water and then mixing it up in the bowl, and then it kind of formed like this weird paste stuff, and I just dropped that into the water and they gobbled that down. They are just little badasses. Okay, so then 4 days after that, on July 7th, I officially declared them all better from the swim bladder issues that they were having. And yeah, they were just swimming like normal. They weren't tossing on their sides or swimming upside down or any of that. Like, it was just all good. So because they were all better, I decided to measure them the next day. So I just measured them. It's just like a little container with like tape measure taped down to the bottom. And I'm going to show you guys later on in the video how much these guys have all grown. Like, why are you are tangled up in my hair. Do you know that? You know what? Just go to sleep. Back there. Go. I measured them on the 8th, and then on the 31st of July, there were some potential problems that came up. So what happened was that I saw some white spots on the black moor, and I wasn't sure on what it was. Like, at first, you know, my first thought was, fuck, they have ick. They had ick, right, baby? It looked like they had ick. She can vouch for that. I noticed it like really late at night on the 31st, so I went to sleep like all traumatized, like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? I need to treat these guys, I need to quarantine. I was just like, you know, stressed. So then the next day, on August 1st, like first thing in the morning, I ran to my nearest pet store, which is actually really close. It's only like 5 minutes away at most. So I kind of recorded a little bit on just like some of the animals that they had for sale, and enjoy. So while I was in the pet store, I picked up some things that I needed to start ick treatment. I picked up aquarium salt, some airline, 2 air stones, a thermometer, ick meds. I already had like an extra air pump at home, and yeah, that was it. But then once I got home, I decided to further examine before I started any kind of treatments. The white spots were gone, so right off the bat, I'm just like, you know what, this isn't even ick. And I decided to ask more experienced goldfish owners what they thought was going on. So they confirmed to me that it's not ick. What it was they had excess slime coat, which could indicate a number of things. Fish produce excess slime coat to protect themselves from something that is stressing them out. So what happened was there was some calcium powder in the bottom, and then the fish were producing like excess slime coat, and the calcium powder actually stuck to them, and it made them look like they had ick. But luckily they didn't. However, there was still something wrong with them. So I did like a little side view examination of them. I just took them in this like clear-ish container that I had laying around. I need to get a better container to get a side view of them, but I'll do that in the future. I just took them and a little bit of the water, and I put them in there, you know, and I put a lamp over it just so I could get really good lighting, and I discovered that they were definitely being aggressive with each other. Like the orange one was missing scales, the black moor had like a little piece of the tail missing, and then the other two looked fairly healthy, but I decided to quarantine all 4 of them to treat them for that. So then the next day, on August 2nd, I quarantined and started a salt treatment. It's a really simple, light salt treatment. It was just 1 tablespoon of salt per 10 gallons of water that they were in. The quarantine setup, it was just a tub, and then I moved the old filter from their old setup onto the tub. And then I added the air pump, which actually has 2 outlets, so I added, you know, both of the air stones that I bought. And then I filled the tub halfway with water from the old setup, and then I topped off the other half with clean, dechlorinated fresh water. And then I added the thermometer in there, and then I added the fish in there about an hour later once everything was running, the filter was running, this whole system was running. And then once the fish were kind of adjusted to the new setup, which took about an hour, I went ahead and started to slowly, very, very slowly, I started to salt the water. But I'm going to get to that in a bit. Just let me tell you guys what happened to the old setup first. So in the old setup, where the snails were left over, I replaced the water that I took out to go in the quarantine setup with more dechlorinated fresh water. And then my ghetto filter made another appearance. Yeah, I added some already cycled filter media from the old filter into the ghetto filter. So what happened was I kind of split the filter media like 60% on the quarantine setup and then 40% in the ghetto filter. And then I added some new filter media to both filters. And the saddest part was that I had to take out the plants, like all of the it looks so totally sad without them. It just looks bare and empty and ill. Now returning to the salt treatment. So the salt treatment is used for some parasites, some viruses, some bacteria and infections. But it's important to never combine salt treatments with other medications unless the medications say that they're complementary, like it's okay. So I didn't end up using the ick treatment that I bought. Hopefully I'll never use it, but just in case I ever need it, it's there. So what I did to the fish in the quarantine setup with the salt is first you have to dissolve the salt in some water, like a small amount of water, and then you have to add that mixture to the quarantine setup. So I dissolved all the salt I was going to use with the amount of water that I had, and I started to add it in like slowly, like 1 spoonful at a time, and it was so scary. Like I felt like I was gonna kill my fish, like oh my god. And then they were acting pretty funny, like they were just jumping around, and I thought they were gonna jump out of the tub. Like they were just not happy. I don't know if it was just the whole different setup that they had that they didn't like, or the salt that was going in the water. I don't know. I ended up just adding half of the dissolved salt in, and then the other half I started adding it in the next morning after they're kind of already used to the amount of salt that I added in the night before. That's the only way that I felt comfortable that I wasn't gonna kill them. So that was the first day of the salt treatment. The second day of salt treatment, the guide says to do a 20% water change and then replace that with already prepared salted water. So the guide that I was following says to do that all the way to day 5. And then after day 5, you're going to start to reverse the treatment. So what it says to do is you're going to be doing 20% water changes, but you're not going to be replacing it with salted prepared water. So you're just going to be slowly taking out the amount of salt in the system. So the guide says to do that till day 10. And then after 10 days, it's recommended that you keep the fish quarantined till day 30. Which is what I did. You know, I just really wanted to be sure that there was nothing wrong with them and that they were healing okay. So I kept them quarantined all 30 days. So August 28th was officially the 30th day of daily water changes. So before I decided whether they were ready to go back to the old setup or they needed to stay in there a little bit longer, so I did another side inspection, and yeah, there was definitely some healing, but nothing too miraculous. Like it's definitely a slow process, but there was definitely some healing in there. And then I noticed that the blackmore is changing colors. It's getting a lot lighter, like in the tummy area than like the eyes. So yeah, I guess we'll see how his or her color ends up. And another thing that I noticed while I was doing a side inspection was that they were huge, especially the pinkies, because they almost took up the same amount of space in the container as the orange and the black goldfish, who are older than them. So I was just like, holy crap, like it just hit me at that moment, like whoa, these guys are huge. On September 7th, I decided to re-measure them the same way that I measured them when they first arrived with me. And are you guys ready to see the growth? Here it is. So now it's been about a week after that. I've decided to place the goldfish back in the main setup with the snails. So I'm going to be doing that within the next few days, and I will make another video once I do. This is everything that has happened since you guys last heard of them. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing and following. And no, following, you don't follow on YouTube. Sorry, I'm thinking about something else. You can follow me on Instagram and like my Facebook page. The links are down in the description. Bye! I'm going to be making a addition to the pet family, and I have seen some glowfish in there, so hopefully if I get lucky there will be some, and yeah. And I decided to pass by the fish store and see if I get something. So maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll see. I wanted to show you guys the new snail setup, enclosure, tub thing. It's actually just a really old stock tank that was just outside and it was forgotten, and I saw beauty in it, okay? I saw hope.